Welcome viewer to the course of web designing. In this video you will learn that what is JavaScript, what JavaScript can do, and how to insert JavaScript in your HTML document. You will also learn that where to put your scripts and how to generate outputs in JavaScript. What is JavaScript? JavaScript is a programming language for use in HTML pages. It is a client-side scripting language, which means it runs on the user's machine and not on the server, as other web programming languages such as PHP and Ruby. That means JavaScript is dependent on the browser capability and setting. JavaScript was originally developed as a live script by Netscape in the mid-1990s. It was later renamed to JavaScript and became an ECMA standard in 1997. JavaScript is officially maintained by ECMA is a ECMA script. ECMA stands for European Computer Manufacturers Association. ECMA Script 6 is the latest major version released in 2015. JavaScript is an object-oriented language, and it also has some similarity in syntax to Java programming language. But JavaScript is not related to Java in any way. Most commonly, we are using JavaScript as a way to add interactivity to a page, where the structured layer of a page is our HTML markup and the presentational layer of a page is made up of CSS. The third behavior layer is made up of our JavaScript. JavaScript can react to events. That is, a JavaScript can be set to execute when something happens, like when a page has finished loading or when a user clicks on HTML element. A JavaScript can read and change the content of an HTML element. All of the element attributes and text on a web page can be accessed by JavaScript using the document object model. A JavaScript can be used to validate form data before it is submitted to a server. This saves the server from extra processing. A JavaScript can be used to detect the visitor browser, and depending on the browser, load another page specifically designed for the browser. A JavaScript can be used to store and retrieve information on the visitor computer. Adding JavaScript to your web pages. There are typically three ways to add JavaScript to a web page: embedding the JavaScript code between a pair of script tags, while the second way is creating an external JavaScript file with JS extension and then load it within the page through the src attribute of the script tag. The third way is placing the JavaScript code directly inside an HTML tag. using the special tag attributes such as on click, on mouse over, on key press, etc. Now to describe each of these procedures in detail. You can embed the JavaScript code directly within your web pages by placing it between the pair of script tags. The script tag indicates to the browser that the contained statements are to be interpreted as executable script and not as HTML. The following is an example of JavaScript. We have to place a statement between the script tags. This example will simply print a text message "Hello World" on the page, calling external JavaScript. You can also place your JavaScript code into a separate file. The files contain JavaScript code has JS extension. To use the external JavaScript, call that file in your document through the src attribute of the script tag, as in the following example. Here we have the script tags, and then to use the src attribute and specify the script files to be used in our HTML pages. Using this method is useful if you want the same script to be available to multiple documents. It saves you from repeating the same task over and over and makes your website much easier to maintain. Placing the JavaScript code in line. You can also place JavaScript code in line by inserting it directly inside the HTML tag using the special tag attribute, such as using on lock, on mouse over, on key press, etc. The following examples show how to place JavaScript code in line. So here this code will display a "Hello World" message. However, you should avoid placing large amount of JavaScript code in line because it makes your JavaScript code difficult to maintain. Where to put your scripts? You can have any number of scripts. Scripts can be placed in the head or in the body section. In the head section, scripts are run before the page is displayed, while in the body section, scripts are run as the page is displayed. The head section is the right place to define functions and variables that are used by the scripts within the body section. Otherwise, it is not a good choice. But ideally, script should be placed at the end of the body section, just before the closing body tag. It will make your web pages load faster because it prevents obstruction of initial page rendering. Each script tag blocks the page rendering process until it has fully downloaded and executed. So placing them in the head section, that is an head element of the document, without any valid reason will significantly affect your website performance. Generating output in JavaScript. There are certain situations in which you may need to generate output from your JavaScript code. For example, you might want to see the value of variables or to write a message to browser console to help you debug an issue in your running JavaScript code, and so on. In JavaScript, there are several ways of generating or displaying output. For example, writing output to the browser window or browser console, displaying output in dialog boxes, writing output into an HTML element. So let's discuss each of these methods in detail. Writing output to browser console. Using the console log method, you can easily output a message or write data to the browser console using the console log method. This is a simple but very powerful method for generating detailed output. Look at this example. Here, the console log method is used to display hello world in the browser console. While this is another example, here we have two variables x and y, and to sum these variables, and after that using the console log method to display the output to the browser console. Displaying output in alert dialog box. You can also use alert dialog boxes to display the message or output data to the user. An alert dialog box is created using the alert method. Look at this example. Here we want to display the hello world message using the alert method, and this is the second example. This time we are using the alert dialog box to display the value of the sum as we displayed in the previous example using the console method. So this time x and y are the two variables, and we have to sum their values and store it in the sum variable, and then using the alert dialog box to display its output. Writing output to the browser window. You can use the document write method to write the content to the current document. For example, here we are using the document write method to write the hello world message in the current document. And this is another example. Here we are also using the document write method to display the value of sum in the current document, If you use the document write method after the page has been loaded, it will overwrite all the existing content in that document. Inserting output inside an HTML element. You can also write or insert output inside an HTML element using the element's inner HTML property. However, before writing the output, first we need to select the element using a method such as getElementById. So look at the following example. Here we have two paragraph elements and their IDs are grade and result respectively. And here we are using the document getElementById method to access the paragraph whose ID is grade and to display a hello world message in that element. While here we have two variables as we shown in the previous examples also, and sum variable is holding the results of these two variables after summing these two variables. And here we are using the document.getElementById method, and here we have the result which is the ID of the second paragraph element. So here we are accessing the paragraph and to write the results in that paragraph. So the output of this element, now the output of this code will be to display a hello world message, and then in the another paragraph to display the sum of these two variables. So thanks for watching this video.